But the story that I wanted to speak about actually was Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland linked with the move to Barcelona, who have just cancelled, I've read, their sponsorship deal with Nike to make their shirts. And this is an interesting one. They're going to be making their own shirts. They're going to be their own manufacturer now, meaning they get all the money, which I don't think it'd be long until other clubs start doing similar if it works. They think they can raise the money, but there's talks from a lot of the sort of Barca-based journalists that talks have now begun with Erling Haaland's camp to try and get him to La Liga. Anyone see this deal happening in the short or medium term?
Take him, please. I don't want him to go.
No.
I want him to go.
No, this
Go.
is
They're broke.
How long is his route?
But he's got contracts until I think 2027, 2028. But apparently City are already like is in preliminary talks to offer a new deal. Bro, this is by the way, we're talking about a football club which got rejected by La Liga to include a buy option for João Cancelo because they're that skint. Yeah, they couldn't. So it had to be a straight loan. Are we seriously speaking like they're going to go from not being able to put a buy option in for João Cancelo, which was rumored to be around 30, 35 million euros, to be able to pay a transfer fee for Haaland? I mean, you can all have your own guesses about what City will probably demand as a transfer fee, and then on top of that transfer fee, be able to pay his wages. I just do not see this at all. The woman who represents Haaland, I think she's called Pimenta. She also represents like over 40, 50 other footballers. So it could be anyone out there. I just find it very difficult to see a club which literally about 6-7 months ago was refused to have a buy option in there for João Cancelo to now being able to pay a transfer fee for Haaland, which would probably set a record who knows, maybe because Neymar's is still crazy, but it'd be over 150 million easy. Like, are they really going to be able to afford that? Plus, would he want to go there? I don't know how many of you guys have watched Barcelona this year. I watched them a few times. They're very, very average side. It's very average. So I don't.
If he leaves, he'll go to Madrid. And like you said, Barca are absolutely broke. This whole thing with the shirts, like if that was a viable thing, other clubs would already have done it. Like that's a desperate. We are absolutely skint. How can we get some money? Like they've sold everything else they possibly have. So yeah, they're broke and they're not getting Haaland,
including their own grass, man. Like literally, come on, this is a team that is seriously in. And actually, we shouldn't laugh because I think there's a serious risk that this club could go bust maybe in a few years if you read actually like what's
that's what happened. I mean, they took all of our best players and spent.
La Liga would never let that happen.
So I'm not happy.
The only way I see it happening is that Real Madrid are going to get Mbappe. There could be a way, because we know in the past that the governments and the La Liga have helped both the big two over there with finances. If the idea is you're basically what they looks like they might try and create, and I think this is how Barca are trying to sell this, by the way, to La Liga and to whoever else can help them financially, we're going to try and create Messi versus Ronaldo 2.0. That's the only way where I see it being feasible for them to raise the funds to do it, or they get some special dispensation or whatever it may be. They get some debts written off or whatever else. The shirt thing, I agree, it's an interesting one because on paper it makes sense to make all your own profit, but there's a lot of hard work that goes into manufacturing, a lot of things that can go wrong, and it's why a lot of people, even like celebrities with that are worth billions, that's why they partner with people, because the infrastructures are already there with those companies, as opposed to that means they've got to buy and build all their own factories. Like that's sort of, that's all crazy. You might not have any shirts. Like at the end of it, these things happen. So yeah, I don't know. I don't see it myself. I want it to happen. I'm desperate for it to happen because Haaland leaving is an equalizer, because that guy is just, I mean this with respect, he's a freak. He's an absolute freak of a man, the way he scores and what he does. But yeah, I don't know, man. Barca. What do you reckon, again? Do you think Barca could pull this off? Do you think they've got a little rabbit in the hat?
I think it's going to be difficult, Harry. I think the only way they can pull it off potentially is if City don't get a new deal agreed with him, and he says, I've done everything at Manchester City, I'm going to go to Barcelona come the end of my term, and he's going to go on a free. And at that point, we're talking, what, 2, 3, maybe 4 years away? How many years is that? 4 years away? 3 years away? So I don't see this happening for another 3 to 4 years potentially. And by then, who knows what the state of City or Barcelona is. So yeah, it's just a non-story at this moment in time, just because he's still so successful at City and Pep is there. Maybe with Pep's exit, you could see a situation where Haaland leaves. But at this moment in time, with everything staying the same, I think Pep and him are going to stick together for as long as possible.
Yep. I don't see it.
The only team he's going to is Real Madrid. That's the only team he'd leave City for.
Maybe he wants to be competitive because I thought he would want to join up with Mbappe, but maybe he has the competitiveness in him. Maybe because I think super teams are amazing. They bring so much like eyes to the sport, benefits the team so much. But would he go to another? Would he go and join a super team, be on a team with Mbappe and all these other great players? They might just look at him as like, you know what, you found the easy way out.
I mean,
Is he
I've
just-
got to
He
shoot
did that
people,
with
yeah.
City.
All
though,
right, bro. Is he
I
not in a
think
super? Is he not in a super team now?
He is, and then so he's never really challenged himself.
What do you mean?
What? He's never
What?
challenged himself. What are you waffling about? He's never challenged himself.
He was at Dortmund, bro.
Before
Yeah,
that,
he
he
was
was
with
at
Dortmund, but he
Salzburg.
didn't win the league with Dortmund. If he goes to
Right.
Barcelona and he has to face against a team like Real Madrid, where he's not going into the best team into the country that's already won the league, let's be honest. Anybody goes up top at City, who's a really good striker, would have probably won you the league. Even Harry Kane, even though he's cursed, he probably could have won you guys the
Yeah,
league.
but I find this argument so bizarre.
Erling Haaland going to Manchester City, winning the treble is amazing. But the reality is, he has numerous players in his team that were also Ballon d'Or candidates.
Let me come in here because I find this argument so bizarre because Pep gets it all the time. Oh, you won't respect him until he goes to a League Two side or a weak team and goes and wins the league there. These are professional people, yeah? Whether it's a manager or a player. They're not here to challenge themselves and go to a team that's fourth and try and get them top. They want to win trophies. That's the aim of the game. You know, Usain Bolt ain't going to do the 100-meter sprint with no trainers on because he wants to challenge himself compared to everyone else. No, he's going to have the best. He's going to have the best shoes on to try and get him the best time. The players are going to want to go to the best team to give him the best opportunity of winning the leagues and the Champions Leagues.
And you want to know something? If you take this Manchester City team and you put them against every single Premier League title winning side of history, they probably win. My point being, he is in one of the best teams, and you can give him credit for that, for how good of a player he is. But did he really challenge himself when he joined a team that's already won 2 league titles in a row? Did he really challenge himself when he joins a team that has Gundogan, who's considered one of the best midfielders at the time? Kevin De Bruyne considered one of the best midfielders. Rodri, one of the best midfielders. You got Diaz, who's considered one of the best center backs. You got one of the best goalkeepers in Premier League history at this moment in time with Ederson, with how many trophies he's won. I'm not saying he's
you see a terrible agent, bro.
So Miguel, joining the best teams isn't a challenge, is what you're saying.
Joining the best teams in the world might not be as challenging as joining a team that hasn't won their league title for 3 to 4 years in a row.
No,
Well, I don't-
but
I-
if you're the main guy at a super team, like how Madrid had it with Zidane and Figo and players like that, it will just enhance your legacy as well because you were that guy who led that super team to dominate football.
Guess what? Luis Suarez is highly rated because he went into that Barcelona team, right? Of course, you're going to be highly rated as a striker going into a good team and also carrying that team and raising them to another standard. But of course, if he was to, the reason why Luis Suarez is still looked at as such a great player because he had his time at Liverpool where he tried to carry a small team.
Because he formed one of the most fearsome front threes of all time.
He had his club. He had his time at other clubs. He went on to also win with Atletico after his time at Barca.
So would you rate someone like Fernando Torres as greater than Henry because he went to a team that wasn't as good as Arsenal were when Henry joined? Therefore, he challenged himself more, joining at the time a team in a worse situation in Liverpool. Does that give you more greatness?
No. I'm not saying that, Terry. I'm not saying people are better than Erling Haaland. I'm just saying people are going to look at Erling Haaland and they're going to say, you know what, you won all these trophies at City, but did you do it? Can you do it somewhere else?
But the thing is, though,
No
no
one's saying that.
one's saying it. You're right, and I don't like defending City, but this is
When
the
they
point.
compare,
But see, I don't think they do. That is a modern day YouTube, Twitter, TikTok take to try and discredit someone. People have done it to Paul Scholes for years. But why didn't he challenge himself abroad? Because he was at the biggest, most pressured club in England, and he dominated the midfield in one of the hardest leagues in the world for 20 years. He didn't have to prove anything to anybody. I see what you're doing here is you're basically sort of you're planting an early seed. And I've been in this game too long. Of if you join Arsenal because they haven't won a league in 20 years, and then you win, I can say my players have succeeded more, even with scoring less goals, because it was more of a challenge for them. It's very obvious what you're doing with that. It's like when Liverpool fans a few years ago, they all started saying City were the greatest team ever. And everyone's like, that's nice of them. And that's nice of them. They're doing it because, no, they're doing it, Liverpool fans, because they think they might catch them. And if they can get the world to say City are the greatest ever, and then they overtake them, that makes them the greatest ever by default. It was such an obvious thing. And that's all you're doing, Igal, is your argument is essentially Declan Rice joining Arsenal can make him a greater or have a better career than Rodri, even if he wins less and achieves less, because it was a bigger challenge. That's all you're saying.
Let me prove my point in one simple question. Terry, Mbappe joins Real Madrid, wins the Ballon d'Or, goes on and wins the Champions League and does the domestic double with the Champions League. Is it as impressive as if he did it at PSG?
Depends on the circumstances.
Come on,
But
Terry.
it depends on the circumstances that are going on in the season that you're in. But it's absolutely impressive. Now, you could argue winning it, doing what Porto did. Okay, you could argue winning the treble the way they did it was more impressive than City's or Man United's or Inter Milan's because they're a smaller club with a smaller budget, as an example, and that makes sense. But it doesn't mean players are not challenging themselves. Going to Real Madrid comes with the pressure of playing for Real Madrid, in my opinion, is 100 times more than playing for PSG. Mm-hmm. So you are challenging yourself just with the pressure. You can make the argument that winning the Champions League with a smaller club, with, again, they're financially not smaller, but a smaller club with less pedigree is a great achievement. And I absolutely hear that, but it doesn't mean a player isn't challenging themselves. Declan Rice is challenging himself by joining Arsenal because it's a much harder, more pressured job than playing for West Ham, as an example. You know, but it would have been an even bigger challenge for him to potentially to join Real Madrid, like Jude Bellingham did, because the pressure that comes with that those guys will boo you game week 1 if you mess up. That's how they're built. So I disagree with your premise that the best players in the world joining the best clubs has less pressure and is less challenging than a lesser player joining a smaller club. I think that's wrong.
Terry, just on that, in terms of legacy-wise, you join Madrid, that's a one-way ticket to being talked about as one of the greatest players of all time. Every single player that's talked about being one of the greatest of all time goes to Madrid.
And you're taking that risk. And again, I want to say to the chat, so a lot of people are saying that Igal's right. Now, we're conflating two different points. Is it a great achievement? Is it a greater achievement winning the Champions League with a smaller club? You could argue and probably say yes. Individually for a season, what Leicester did winning the Premier League, you could make an argument. It's great. It's a greater achievement than any other Premier League win due to the unexpected nature of it, as an example. But that doesn't mean that joining Leicester as a striker is more challenging than joining Manchester City or Liverpool right now. They're different conversations and arguments. So, yeah, for me, I understand where you're coming from, Miguel. I just don't think that's right. The pressure of joining the best clubs, it's like with Pep. I defend him on this. Yes, he gets to spend the most amount of money, but that comes with the most amount of pressure and scrutiny. Terry, and you have to handle that.
Terry, by the way, you did say something. City are not the best team in history. They are. They got the most points, consecutive league titles consistently. They're playing the best, highest quality standard of team, and they have the most squad depth, the best teams you could ever build.
Okay. I'll give you an example, though, why you can't. I don't believe you can say that against eras without more detail. If you go back just 30 years ago, there was one sub or no subs. You had barely any squads. How were teams that were still playing 50 games a season expected to win 4 competitions with a 12, 13-man squad versus a 23-person squad? It's so hard to compare eras because rules were different. So, standards were different. Fitness was different because certain scientific breakthroughs hadn't been made. So, of course, they're fitter now and faster now, and there's better recovery and things like that. So, I don't think it's as simple as just, because you got the most amount of points that makes you the best team ever, because I don't think that the eras are comparable in that way. Let's have a look at some of these super chats here. This one says Haaland joining City is like when Kevin Durant joined Steph Curry and the Warriors. I don't get the reference.
Not quite, but
he joined a winning side that beat him.
It means instead of staying and trying to win it with the OKC, he just joined the best team that there was, and instead of trying to win it with a team that he was at, which wasn't the likely or most likely team to win it, he went and joined the best team just so he could win the title.
So is the guy saying that Haaland should have stayed at Dortmund then? Is that what you're saying?
No.
So what you're saying?
No. I'm saying if Haaland spends his whole entire career at Man City, wins all the trophies, people might still say, you know what? Has he really challenged himself because he's at the best team?
Because don't people say that? Because people don't say that about Messi. People don't say, "Oh, Messi stayed at Barcelona the majority of his career," so
No,
you know
because people viewed Messi's team as he was the linchpin. You know something? Erling Haaland might be scoring 50-something goals, 70 goals, but he is not the best player at City for me.
Yeah, I know.
So that is the reason.
The issue is it's like you put a player in a no-win situation because pretty much everyone was in agreement that Harry Kane had to leave Tottenham to a team that wins trophies to level up. So if he'd gone to City or Madrid and won a load of things, everyone would have been like, okay, he had a better career. So you put that on players, but then you say, oh, but if you go to a club that's going to win everything, then that takes away from it because you've done the easy thing. And it's like, well, but if he goes to a club that's more of a challenge and doesn't win things, then you'll say, well, your career wasn't as good because you didn't win things. It's like you almost put them in a no-win position unless they happen to go to a underdog club and consistently win things at that club, which is just incredibly rare.
No, but look at some of the greats. They've gone to multiple clubs. I get it. Messi's probably a different situation because he spent majority of his career at Barcelona, but he was the linchpin of that team. He was the best player. Like, I don't think Erling Haaland is the best player at City. I think you could say Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne.
Where does Saka need to go next to challenge himself?
Saka's the best player on the team.
Yeah, but
Saka
where does he
needs
need
to
to
go
go?
Madrid.
Where does Saka need to go next to challenge himself, in your opinion?
He needs to win major trophies with Arsenal.
Yeah, but where does he need to move next to challenge himself further? Where should he go? That's a bigger challenge for him than Arsenal.
No, but he's not. Terry is different. He's not joining a team that's already winning league titles. He came from the academy, was in a team that was in the Europa League, 8th, and he's built us from nothing.
What you're saying, so there's nothing Saka can do, or Odegaard can do, or Saliba can do. So what can Saliba? He went from your academy. What can Saliba do to challenge himself more, in your opinion?
If we win the league and we go on to potentially win the Champions League, these guys, all they can do is continuously try to build sustained success. And if it gets to a point where they've done everything at Arsenal, in my opinion, winning at Arsenal is more difficult than winning at Man City, where you've been consistently winning and have the best players in the world.
So there's nothing Saliba or Saka or Odegaard could do to challenge themselves more than being at Arsenal, in your opinion?
No, they could definitely go and do stuff
like what? Like what? Give me an example.
Winning the Euros, winning the World Cup. Also,
club level, what's a bigger challenge than Arsenal?
What's a bigger challenge? Obviously, you're going to say probably Real Madrid or something like that. But at this moment in time, I think it's more difficult to win at Arsenal than it is to win at Real Madrid or Man City.
So you think joining Arsenal is a bigger challenge than the pressure of Real Madrid?
Not necessarily. I'm saying it's harder to win at a club that's not consistently winning and hasn't won a league title in 20 years than it is to win at Real Madrid.
So if you win 3 league titles at Arsenal, but you win, say, 5 or 6 at Real Madrid, you think the 3 at Arsenal is better?
If you win 3 league titles at Arsenal and you win 5 at Real Madrid, you'll be remembered as an Arsenal legend. And at Real Madrid, you'll be remembered as another player.
That's because Madrid has an extensive history.
I mean, it depends how well you play, though, right? In those 5 years and how many goals you score, surely.
If we win a league title or Champions League with
if Jude Bellingham keeps doing what he's doing and wins 5 league titles for Real Madrid, in 100 years, they're going to know who Jude Bellingham is.
Guess what? That is true. But also, if Bukayo Saka...
Steve McManaman didn't win loads out there, but he won stuff. Steve McManaman is still known and loved by Madrid fans 20 years later.
Fair enough, Terry. But my point is, right now, you take Erling Haaland, take him out of City, slap him into Barcelona. They win a Champions League with him. He will be remembered more as a Barcelona legend, and he'll be remembered across world football as what he did for Barcelona.
They're not going to win a Champions League.
Yeah, but then Egal, you're talking about legacy. But everyone knows